So we have everything that's gear-wise in this room, plus all of our microphone wall panels that are out in the live rooms. All of that stuff terminates to here. So all of that cabling either is going through floors or through walls and troughs, and it's ending up in the back of our machine room where we have a ton of cabling that is very neatly tied together, kind of like these, where everything is just terminating into here. And what that allows us to do is to quickly be able to reroute a signal from somewhere else, do creative decisions by, adding in different pieces of gear at different stages to make music. But there's a lot of different ways that you can set up these patch bays. One of the first things you learn as an engineer when you're going around to different studios is to ask, if you've never been there, hey, do your patch bays, are they wired outputs over inputs or inputs over outputs? It's a good thing to know, okay? And there's a couple reasons for that. And that kind of leads us into how we wire these in the back. When we route signal, we'll have essentially 3 different ways that we want signal to flow within these patch bays. And they're called normals. How does the signal go from 1 up at the top to 1 at the bottom, or does it at all? So when we talk about things like a full normal, what that means is that signal flows from this top jack to the bottom jack, okay? I can break that normal, which means I can kill the signal going from top or bottom by plugging something into either one of those jacks. So if I have, say, a mic line from a wall out in the back to a microphone pre that goes here, it's good to have that flow from top to bottom because I don't want to have to use, the more patch cables I have to use, the potential comes in that you're going to either degrade the signal, or you just, anytime you use a connector, you potentially run into a problem of the signal just crapping out. Like the more points in a circuit there are, the more potential for issues. So you want a signal to normal from a wall panel into a console preamp. But I don't want that signal to stay if I say I want to go from, and this is number 48, okay? If I patch from wall panel 48 and say I want it to go to a different mic pre, I don't want that signal to continue down to the bottom because then it's going to show up in 2 different places. So that's a full normal is what we call that, where if I plug in a patch cable here, it's going to break the signal from going here, and now it only goes to where I want it to go. That also leads us to other different types of configurations, such as what we call half normaling. Okay, this is probably the most common configuration, and it tends to be used for easy, what we'll call in the business, malting. It allows me to have 2 copies of the same signal. So the difference from a full normal is, on a half normal, the signal still flows from top to bottom. The difference being is that when I plug a patch cable in the top, signal still flows to the bottom, which allows me to take that signal and go a different place with it while it still continues to the bottom. Now the signal will break if I plug it into the bottom. It will no longer continue going from top to bottom. That's called a half normal. The other type of normal is called a non-normal, and that is most typically used especially with a lot of outboard gear. And so that is user preference over whether you have the output of your gear on the top or the input. You can switch that either way, it doesn't matter. A non-normal, you have to use a patch cable to go from either side. Signal does not flow from the top to the bottom at all. And so with outboard gear, that kind of stuff, we don't want there to necessarily be normal.